Welcome back this last segment of the 933 KFM Hot Seat featuring Ambassador Dr. Roberto Ridolfi, head of the European Union delegation in Kampala. Caroline Namata says the problem of the EU is not having a central control of the fiscal and budget policy of the individual countries. Either there is full political, economic, and fiscal union, or the EU will be unworkable. What do you say to her?
Well,
Bring your
she's right.
analysis, yeah.
She's very right. That's what I said at the beginning. But of course, democracy has got a price. And this must be done in a democratic process. You remember a few years ago, Ireland, with 400,000 votes on a total of 400 million, blocked an international treaty. 400,000 people blocked 400 million. And that was difficult to swallow for many of us. But she's right. We need more integration in Europe. And that's what I say to being. I very like this person. But central control shall not be understood as Big Brother, that from Brussels put everybody into control. What we call it is convergency. So that the fiscal policies in a range of 5-6 years should converge, and the national security policies, so that is the pension, the retirement schemes, etc., should also converge. Not having big asymmetries that then create imbalances and big holes in credibility of the state.
Okay. Chaze Edmond says if the EU really wants Uganda and Africa at large to develop, at least 75% of aid should be geared towards production and productivity instead of consumption. Why is it that only 5% of the aid is conditionally geared towards production?
No, I think 5% is wrong. I can talk about our program as EU, and we are going into infrastructure development, into agriculture, commercial agriculture in Uganda. In Uganda, the oil is not black. You will be surprised. In Uganda, the oil is green. The black one serves only to grease the engine, which is the green oil. And the green oil is agriculture, agribusiness, and tourism. Now, to make it work, we are setting up an equity fund. Farmers cannot afford to have a loan. Loans at 25% are not good for farmers. My grandfather was one of them, and he said, never get a loan from a bank, they will kill you. Farmers are subject to weather, are subject to crops, are subject to prices in the market, so you must allow 6, 7, 8 years to give money to a farmer to get the results. And that is not possible through loans, certainly not through grants, which are scarce, so we move into equity. We are doing that because we believe that this is the way. As I said at the beginning, economic growth. The NDP is quite right, the government is quite right in the priority. We shall never forget the delivering services. Health and education should be left to the state, but money for energy, money for infrastructure we can find.
Okay.
And the oil will pay the mortgage. So we shall block the future generation to take the big infrastructure of these countries, and part of the oil venues should be blocked to pay this development.
Geoffrey Mabonga says Museveni's government has failed everything due to its corruption and denial of rights to people. Western region oriented, poor pay of primary school teachers. It's a failed state since the difference between the poor and the rich is high. When will Museveni's group leave us to develop? Irish potatoes have, the message is incomplete. Angelo, would you respond to this? You are talking about the question of the inequalities.
Yeah, inequalities are deep, and I don't think that present institutions can guarantee fair arbitration. One of the reasons I think that the rights of individuals must be preserved in Ugandan society is because if you have got unaccountable institutions and this current inequality the way it is a recipe for disaster. And the less government interference in freedom of association and freedom of expression, the better for all of us.
Agaba Rugaba says, what do you say, Mr. Ambassador, about the economic partnership agreements the European Union wants to sign with East African countries to allow goods and products from the EU to flood the East African market and thus kill off locally produced goods and products, and thus kill off indigenous manufacturing and local production farms? What is it? What is in it for the East African community to benefit?
I think our friend is badly informed. At the moment, as a matter of fact, you are flooded with imports from China, India, and everywhere else. The imports from Europe are only 6%. The export to Europe are 22%. You know how much are the exports to China? 2%. So that is the reality. Therefore, I contest the figures. Why? The stumbling block of this EPA, which, by the way, for Uganda will not make a big difference because Uganda today enjoys full export to Europe at zero quota, zero tariff, which is the best you can have, because you can export everything to Europe and you don't pay anything, any
In tariffs.
custom of anything. Now, the stumbling block, you know what it is? That we Europeans, we say, okay, if you, Uganda, you sign an agreement very favorable with Venezuela, well, since we are granting you zero quota, zero tariffs in whatever you export to Europe, we want to have the same treatment that you give to the most favored nation.
Mm.
I think it's fair. Why we should accept to be treated inferiorly by Uganda if we want to, and we do treat Uganda as the best.
You enjoy an advantage over Uganda, don't you?
We do?
Yes,
I
you
don't
do.
know. Which one?
Hmm?
I see only Indian motorbikes here. I see only Japanese cars here. Tell me, what is the advantage?
The
I don't
advantage is
see it.
that your manufacturing, your agriculture is much more advanced than it is in Uganda.
Well, I think we are not doing any export of food into Uganda. Very,
Aren't
very
there more
limited.
European companies coming to do business here?
Let's hope so.
Okay,
I would wish that for Uganda. I would.
I'm afraid our time is up. We need to get out of here.
Please.
The producer is warning us. But Tumhim Mr. Rogers, Ngelese Arafati, Nakaswa John, Mugaradon, Katheth Klin, Haji, and Ronnie Moses, and many other listeners. I haven't been able to take your messages tonight,
I'm
but I'll share
sorry.
them with the ambassador. But, Mr. Ambassador, thank you very much for making time for the show.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure to be grilled by you guys.
Thank you very much to you all our listeners for joining us tonight. And always, thank you very much, especially those who sent us feedback and each one who listened in. And of course, to Nile Gold for sponsoring the show and to Ban Cafe for the coffee. From me and Angelo, it's a good evening.
KFM Hot Seat. The hottest debate on all relevant topics, live every evening, 7 to 8 p.m. KFM Hot Seat in association with Nile Gold, a crystal malt lager.